And so, so often you do get, scanned images that are not very good. And so you can, and remember, I've just opened this up as a JPEG. This was not a drag and drop. So I'm going to double click, say okay, get rid of that locking situation. And now, again, this is what I was speaking about, cleaning up any scanned images. You want to crop it, which is right. I mean, remember, we talked about the slicing. I'm not asking you to slice. I'll show that again. This is when you have your work ready for the programmers, and you use the slice tool to extract from your page. So we'll go over that again because it's a tool that's widely used. And again, you can also do a rotate, so you can actually get your image, but this will not, if this is very hard to do in the rotate, if there's a parallax problem, it's called parallax. If there's a parallax problem between your plane of what you're scanning and your camera, the rotate can only fix so much. So this is good. So now again, remember the habit of duplicating. You know that, you can mess things up and you want to always be able to go back. And on this, because it is a straight line, I don't have to use the freehand, but I do have to set my feather. So I'm going to set my feather to 10 pixels, which is up here. And I'm going to use 10 pixels on the straight edge. And I'm going to use it like this. So right about here is what I'm using. So now I have feather 10. Now the feather 10 will also probably feather up here. So that's going to be a problem. Let me think about this for a second. I should probably do canvas first. Let's do canvas. See, I'm already thinking that feather's not going to work on the top. So I'm going to make some more room on my image here. So at the bottom, to go to the bottom. And let me just bring this up to inches. And I'm going to make this to be 27. Let's do 30. So now I'm going to have 30. Oops, no, I don't want it on that size. I want it on the top, not the width. So I'm going to bring my image to the bottom. It's going to be height. Make it inches, and then I'm going to make it 25. Okay, so now I have that. And when I make my marquee with the feather, I can go like this. And then this way I can try to get the adjustment. So now I go up here to adjustment. Adjustment levels, my favorite tool in Photoshop. And now I'm going to, now I can work with the grays first. And so you see how I've got to keep it measured.
Finish the packet I just gave you?
And lighter.
Let me see.
So I don't want it too stark, and then I say okay, and Control D. And so you see the 10 was not that good. So I'm going to go back, and you do have to reset it and rebuild it. So I'm going to go 30, probably because if I look at my image size, I'm 25 inches, so I could bring that in. This is why your camera is so good. You could bring it to 150. And there, we're going to bring it to, now we'll bring it to 30 feather. And I'll make it come down here like that. Go back to adjust. Go back to adjust. Go back to levels. Adjust it slightly with the gray. Lighten it as such. Say okay. Control D. And that's a little better. Now what I can do is just adjust the whole thing. Levels, bring it up all together. And you see how even here, I would do more feathering on there. There's slightly still. So in other words, I could go the opposite again. I'll just stay around this edge. Come down here. Do I have the 30? I still have the 30. Adjustment levels. And now I'll lighten this again there. So it's a little better. Or better yet, maybe use the gray. So again, you see, you don't really know. You just have to play with it. There, that feels a little better. Control D. And so that makes a world of a difference in that. And then you can also use, don't forget, what Splashy, you with us, right? You said something that was really important.
I'm here.
Go back and use the dodge and burn one with a very large brush. So I always forget what these two do. I know they darken and they lighten, but I always forget which one. So the way I visually have remembered it for myself is that the solid white lightens, and then the dark hole in the middle darkens. So I'll go to dodge, and I'll bring this up with a soft brush. And you see now, I can really lighten things up. And now what you could do, now again, bring back to the crop. So I don't need it there. And so now, now what I can do is try to darken the text. So again, I'll come up here to adjust a level, and this time I'm going to push the black. So the text is getting better. And then I'm going to maybe try the gray on this. So this is what takes time. There. That's a little better on that. And so now I can again go back and do the whole thing and lighten up slightly as such. So that's why, now watch the difference on this, folks. This is what we had before. So you see that? And so right here, I could go back exactly with what, utilizing that dodge and burn. And so that makes a good improvement on that. And so the one thing that is important about digital imaging is to remember that creating the source, like when you are using the camera, the static camera, your phone camera or your SLR, whatever camera you have, and a video camera, the most important time is that time. Because what you do, if you don't do it well with those two technologies, then you have to fix it in Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects. So the incoming source is really the most important context. And so, you know, for our purposes, I wanted you to see how it's important to make sure you're parallel when you scan. And I'll put up, I have a really good video tutorial that I found, which is excellent, on how to take really good videos and pictures with your iPhone or your Android. And it had some really good tips that, that was very helpful. So I'll attach that to our playlist so that you can find it. Okay, any questions on this? As you can see how one can fix things. And then this would, you can be able to upload this. The other one, you have contrast here. So contrast can also help in getting the picture to be lighter or darker on the text. Because sometimes scanning doesn't pick up everything. Okay, so if there's no questions, and I have everyone that we have, I'm going to go to the timeline on the video. So I told you I was doing a video on Black Lives Matter. So let me call that up. And as you can see, this is what you're going to be doing over the weekend. You're going to be getting the work in an order of how you want to see your images. And so what I want to show you is some very basic tools like we did. I did put up the 3 videos from Wednesday are up. I'm just trying to upload that last one, which I'll do in our next break. I'll start the render right away and see if it gets done before our next meeting. So you see how I staggered it in this. And any questions on this so far? Has anyone attempted this? I take that
No,
as...
I haven't attempted it.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so do you want me to start from the beginning, or do you want me to jump into where I am?
Well, I have one question for you. How
Yes.
do you get this frame to come up, the whole frame?
Really good, really important question. That one, thank you, Splashy, for that. That is under Window, Timeline.
Thank you, thank you.
So I'm going to actually show you. I have one that has just started. Let me get that one. Let's see here. I think it was this one. No, it wasn't this one. It was this one. This one right here. Okay. So this one is with all the pictures that I have here. So when you start out, remember, if you haven't started yet, let me start directly from scratch. So right up here, film video, you want to choose. Now, remember we talked about the two of these two versions? One is 1920 and one is 1280. 1280 is fine for YouTube. But if you were going for broadcast for larger screens, 19 by 20. So if you have on your computer 8 gigabytes of RAM or 16 gigabytes of RAM, then you probably could work with this 19 by 20. If you have less than 16 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes, I would do the 1280. So that's important to know that difference on there. Now, here are all the presets. You know, here's all the wide screens. Here's full HD 7680. That is, you really want to have a lot of memory with that. That gets very, very big. And so the parameter here, you could Google Instagram if you wanted to make a vertical video. All you have to do is change your image size to be vertical. So I'm going to use this 1920. And by default, when you start your project, sort of peruse the parameters here on the presets. By default, I always like transparency, but I know in video you always should have a background. So you can choose which color background you want to have. So I'm going to choose white so we can see things. And here we go. So now everything by default, you really can use. So sometimes people can tell you what they specifically want. But I'm keeping it by whatever is the standard that Adobe has created here. And you can have confidence in that. And again, remember the two differences between the two color systems. RGB is for what media format versus CMYK. Go for a guess, someone. These are important questions that you really have to know, and I really don't want to give a quiz to make sure you know it. So that's why I don't do quizzes. So just give me a guess. Why, you know, what's the difference between these two color systems, RGB and CMYK? Anybody want to give a guess?
Isn't CMYK like the printer colors or something?
Exactly. That's exactly right. CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. The K for black. And RGB is red, green, and blue. For video, electronic, anything you plug in, right? So those are critical formats when you start your setup on your documents. If there's anything that you want to walk away from this class, is that you know those two color systems And that when you scan at 300 DPI, because the source is the most important step in creating any media content. The resolution and what color system you have. So, you know, for video, it's, which is why the setup here is there. So I'll do create. And now this, let's pretend this window is not here. You would have this set up on here. And remember we had artboards, but for some reason it didn't do artboards. And if you have the artboards, you can just simply merge visible and it will become a traditional layer here. So I'm going to double click to get rid of that locking system. And I'm automatically going to create a layer. And then you begin to bring in, you begin to import your layers, your images. Now remember, when you do place embedded, you can only do one at a time, which is why I don't like it. So that's why you want to go File, Open, and then open all the images that you have as source. So I'm going to just bring all of these open. And so then, again, remember up here, it's going to give you your parameter of all, you know, this arrow up here gives you all the tabs that you may not see. These are all your tabs. So mine was untitled. I don't think I signed it there. So let me get back to this. Do a save as. Save on. I keep things. I don't say don't show me again. I save on the computer just in case I want to save to the cloud. And now I'm just going to start here with motion. And remember, whenever you work on a computer, create the number system that I recommend for anything, whether it's Excel, PowerPoint, doesn't matter. Always create a higher number so that you know your last edit is the highest number and so forth. So I'm going to call it motion underscore right here. And so when I bring these images in, such as any of these that I want to see, so if I want to bring this in, I'm going to pull it to the side. Now this is where it gets sticky. And I got to bring back my motion. And use your move tool. You're bringing in that large image into here. And now you can close it and don't overwrite your source. And so now I can use this and I can crop this. So now when you're here, when you crop, remember, I could crop like this. Say I just want, you know, this image. And that's a round image. Now, why is that round? That's how you get a round image, because I forgot to change the feather from the last time, right? So my feather numbers stayed from my last document. So that's a good and bad thing. So you just have to remember. So now that's not going to change. I have to rebuild. Control D. And I do want this to be a square. So I'm going to bring this in. Now, if I want to crop this within my document, not crop the document, but crop this image, you make your marquee. It could be organic. And then you inverse it. And then you hit delete. Okay? So now turn that off. Next image. I think I might transcend my BLM, my Black Lives Matter, into an environmental one as well. We need to be thinking about all these things. So now you see I brought that in, that's fine. And at this point, you can get it somewhat where you want it to be. I'm not sure yet, turn it off. But the point that I'm showing you here is how to bring in images from File, Open, and bringing them in. I didn't want to minimize that. I think that, let me come over here. No, okay. I could have just turned that away. And again, remember your magic ants to get rid of any of this. So the point to be made is that now I'll do one more and that should do it. Turn this off. No, I don't want that. Let's see here. Let me look at some of these images here. Okay, perfect. So I want to bring this in. And again, I lost my page. So come back up here to that arrow. Bring it back with motion like this. And that's actually the hardest thing about the drag and drop is people don't know where things are. So sometimes it can go behind your screen and so forth. And then just close it out. And now I have it. Okay, so now once you do that, the important thing is then put it in the order that you want to see it. So if I wanted to start with Greenpeace as such, like this, and then bring in this, and bring in this, and you see, oh, this is good. You see when this happens when you crop. If you have it beyond, it doesn't crop beyond the page. So that can be a little bit frustrating when you begin to move it. So again, all you do is that you have to come back up to here because I don't want to scale it. I want to keep it big. So then again, inverse and then simply delete. So that will happen when you see that comes back up because it does not eliminate what's beyond the canvas. And if you move it, you're going to see more stuff. And then you just have to select and delete again. Okay, so once you have all these things, you want to turn them all on. And that's when you go to your timeline. Now, again, what I'm emphasizing here to make your life not be filled with troubles and frustration, I'm going to attach this to the screen. There. Now it's attached. You see that highlight bubble is, we did a little bit of frame by frame animation. So you want to bring it up as big as you can. And sometimes you have to zoom this, make this smaller. But you'll have something that says these two things. So frame by frame, when we come back on our next session, I'll show you how lovely some things you can do with frame by frame animation. But this is creating an animated GIF. And the conversation I had with you is that if you make an animated GIF, I'm going to show you a little bit more on making animation in the next session so that we have a tutorial just on that. Because the videos are quite easy. The video timeline is super easy compared to frame by frame animation. And that's why you can charge more money to the client when you have animation, because it is more work. So for us in this session, I'm just going to do the video. So you say create video timeline. And then you get this. So at this point, I can make my layers smaller. So it will look like this. And what you want to do is you want to basically get everything up to a minimal size so that it's like this. Now you know that the order is in order, like because you followed your storyboard. Now remember, be sure to make your text, make a layer for text, make a layer, get literally every asset that's going to be seen in your video before you start your timeline. That's number one, because it makes it easier. Once you do that, you know the stacking order. The top is the beginning, the bottom is the end. And what I'm doing here, if I roll over, is I'm just getting it to be a segment, what we call a video segment, like a video clip. Now the bottom one, you can you see, you can highlight and see the time frame. You only need to make it, let's see, this looks like this is either 1 minute. Let's see, this could be 1 minute. And how do I know that? I could see 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. So this is about, oh, here's my 10-minute cutoff. So I'm in a minute there, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. You want to get it to 15 seconds. Now I might have to change that because what I want to see is seconds. I see 3 seconds. I don't think that's 3 seconds because if I go 1,000, 2,000, these are frames that it's showing me. And in animation, it's 24 frames a second. So on the preferences, I would change that in the units to see that. But notice what I was doing when I was saying 1,000, 2,000. That's what we used to do in the studios when we didn't have, you know, the phone to be a stopwatch. So we just say 1,000. 1,000, by the time you say 1,000, it's a second. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. We keep it single digit. 9, you don't go 12,000 because 12,000 is harder to say in some things. So, anyway, I'll show you the preferences and the change of that, but I want to get through this first. So then I know how long I want to see something. So if I start this, I'm going to move this, all of them together. Now you can highlight it from here on the layers. You don't have to do Shift key and select like this. You can actually come up here to your layers and Shift key. Shift key on your keyboard creates multiple selections. So now you see I have it highlighted and I can move this like this. And then I can come here and move this like that. So now let's play it. You see? And so then if I don't, you know, depending on how long I want something, that's why if you do a voiceover, you do little segments, not a whole long 20-minute audio file, literally 5 seconds audio file, 3 seconds audio file, because then it's easier for you to move the audio where you want it to be in relation to the images. And the audio clips become just like video clips or image clips. So that's what you have here. It's basically video. I mean, it's basically static images. Now let's go to keyframing because that's the next complicated thing. I'll show you the preferences in changing that, but right now it's not important because we'll sign that off in the next session so that you can see. But you know, if I can't find the tool to give me that, that's why I rely on 1,000, 2,000, and at the deliverable, and I have a stopwatch, 15 seconds. All you have to do is look at your stopwatch. Okay, so right now I'm going to do the positioning. The way to do that is you open it up, and right there is the position. So I'm going to have green piece start. I'm going to have it come down. Whoop, let me go back to my motion. I'm going to move this up so that it comes down. And I don't want to, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I don't want to get it so far that I don't see it, because I can always add, and it's harder to see things when it's off the screen unless you do a Control-T to be able to identify that it's off the screen, and then you can pull it back. So I don't like that mystery of where things are. So I have it, and I know that my fade in will keep this, you know, and now don't forget you have the arrows on your keyboard. When your hand cannot do the delicate work, use the arrows on the keyboard to get it to be what you want it to be by moving it, just pixel by pixel by pixel, because sometimes that's very hard to do with the mouse. Okay, at this point, I have the keyframe where I want it to be. Green piece is going to come down and drop down. So I've got the position set, and I'm going to lock it. That just locked it. And now I'm going to bring it down. And those purple, pink guides are helping you know it's a line. But I didn't move it, so I'm going to go Control Z. You've got to move the timeline. I forgot to move the timeline, right? I got to lock this, and now I'm going to move in time ahead to the end. I want to hold. So if I do a hold, I want to pause it. I want it to come and land at this point. So you move the marker where you want it to land, right here. Now I come and I drag this down, and again, move it so where you want it to be able to be a line. It's a little slightly off, but that's okay. And now you see it made it automatically. You do not have to click position. So now let's see what happens. Here's your playback up here, left, play. Now you can decide if you think it's too fast or too long. So I'm going to move these down because I want to show you that if you think it's too fast or slow, you can actually roll over this, stretch this, and you can actually drag these keyframes. So now I may have a voiceover that is required to be included within this opening stage. So let's say here, welcome to Greenpeace. This is our 1920-20 conference, right? Not fat. I've got to stretch it out. They've given me the required text that, you know, is supposed to be on for this long time. So I know coming in is long enough. If you hit spacebar is a shortcut to stop and start your videos. So I'll rewind it, spacebar. Welcome to Greenpeace 2020 annual conference. We are all online today due to COVID. You see? So now so that's why it's very important if you have a voiceover, a line like what you said, Rebecca, where you wanted to put your text. If you have, required text to be said within that frame, you really need to have the audio. So what we do in production, because often, the client or the production studio goes out and finds the celebrity or the talent to do the voiceover. And then they are given the script, and often you have already started the production. So what you do is you get the text in an email and you record your voice just so you have something, knowing that maybe the actor is going to do it faster or slower, but it gives you a ballpark to get started so that you have an idea. So you literally would read the script out loud to yourself as you know how long something is going to last. And so now, obviously, I'll make this shorter because I don't have a voiceover, but just notice how you can be able to edit this quite easily. And again, bringing these sliding, and that's why the organization is so critical in your timeline to get these things to be right where you want them to be, because you have to push all the layers. And if you didn't have it in a stacking order, it would be a nightmare. So any questions on this? In our next session, since I'm less than a minute and I'll probably get cut off, we'll talk about this tool, which is your scale and rotate. That's a trickier tool, but it adds much more ability to do rotation and scale, which is that Ken Burns effect. And then I'll also show you that other Ken Burns effect where you separate the 3 layers in one picture. So I'm going to wave now because I know I have less than a minute. And I will see you. I will see you. Bye, everyone.